Hi everyone, I'm Jay Padden. Thank you so much for joining us today for Conversations with Cardinal Sean, as I have an opportunity to sit down with the Archbishop of Boston, Cardinal Sean O'Malley, and we discuss everything. Today's topic, though, is about pro-life. So as always, Cardinal Sean, thanks so much for being with us. Very much appreciated.
Delighted to be with you, Jay. Thank you.
Got a lot to talk about.
Great.
And especially because there's a lot of events going on, and the pro-life march and so on and so forth. But you were elected to be the chairman of the Committee of Pro-Life Activities by the USCCB, which is a very, very important committee. Can you tell us about that committee and what your role is in that committee?
Well, that committee works with our pro-life office in Washington that is very much involved in an educational effort around all of the various aspects of the pro-life issue, and also working to advocate on behalf of the gospel of life and to bring about an end to abortion in our country. And the office is also involved with other offices of the USCCB, working on healthcare issues and things like that. And
it seems like a very important time, too, because if you see the landscape in the United States today, it seems as if the dignity of life is really being attacked. So it's very important, and that's why I said at the beginning, I think, that we continue to stand up for life and for the dignity of life. So thank you for taking on that role. And your role in particular, you're the chairman. So what does that mean you do?
Well, I work with a wonderful committee of bishops and lay people and our staff around trying to set an agenda that can be presented for the administrative board of the USCCB. But as I say, a lot of our efforts are around advocacy and education around issues involving the gospel of life, which is at the centerpiece of our Catholic social teaching. And although, as you say, there's many challenges out there, there's also, I think, many hopeful signs. The country as a whole is becoming more pro-life, and particularly our young people. All of the surveys and studies that are being done show a greater awareness of how precious life is, and a growing opposition to abortion on demand, and more young people are identifying themselves as pro-life. So I think that's a very important aspect of this, and in part I like to think it's due to the educational efforts of the Catholic Church and others to keep this before people's minds. And one of course, the ways that this is done is through marking the anniversary of the Supreme Court decision, Roe versus Wade, which 40 years ago struck down all the laws in the country that forbade abortion. There's never been an opportunity for Americans to have a referendum around this issue. It was a Supreme Court decision that was imposed upon the country, and we've been dealing with the aftermath of that ever since.
And as you said, I think part of the key to all of this is education, because I think the more people find out about the issue, the more they start to gravitate towards pro-life. When they understand the ramifications and what is happening here, they say, well, pro-life is the way to go. Well, what are some of the upcoming issues and legislations that, talking about education, that we might be aware of or should be aware of?
Well, certainly the Bishops' Conference is very focused on what is going to happen with the mandates that have been included as part of the healthcare reform. There's great concern that the former conscience rights that were enshrined in laws are now in jeopardy, and also the fact that the mandate defines what a religious institution is, and it's not the way that we would define it. So, in other words, the mandate says that the religious exemptions only hold if your staff is all a member of your church, if the people you serve are all from your church, and if somehow you're about indoctrinating people in the tenets of your religion. And yet many of our Catholic institutions are there to serve the entire population, and we don't always have all Catholics working in our hospitals or schools or Catholic charities. We have people from other faiths working side by side with us, and we serve the general population. We don't serve them because they're Catholic, we serve them because we're Catholic, and that's one of the ways that we live out our faith.
Well, one of the victories in the state of Massachusetts was that one of the things they were voting for was a physician-assisted suicide, and it was voted down. Why was that so important?
Well, we felt that our state had been targeted as a very liberal, politically, state, and a state with a very secularized culture, and we felt that if we had been defeated here, that it would have spread very quickly to other parts of the Northeast and to the rest of the country. So we felt as though it was a very important thing for us to be involved in trying to defeat this and help people to understand the implications of physician-assisted suicide. The group that promoted this and brought in people to get signatures for the referendum originally are from Oregon, where they have passed laws allowing for physician-assisted suicide, and they were trying to replicate their victory there and bringing the same type of legislation here to Massachusetts. But we were able to form a very broad-based coalition with hospice care workers and nurses and doctors and other churches and religious groups. And we were very grateful for the help that we received from Catholic Television and the town hall meeting that was conducted here, and the wonderful work of Janet Benestead and Scott Landry in the parishes, and then the help that we had from the Rasky Foundation, which is a strategic communications group that helped with a lot of the outreach and publicity.
Mm. One of the things that struck me, I was driving one day, and I thought of doctors, pharmacists who would have to give this medication to someone, and you don't think of the periphery of what this is going to do to other people, but how horrendous even that would be too. Mm-hmm. And then just again a life issue. I was very proud of the Archdiocese of Boston, but not just the Archdiocese of Boston. There were other groups that joined with the Archdiocese of Boston, or we joined together with these groups to make this happen. Who were some of the other groups?
Well, certainly the MCC, the Massachusetts Catholic Conference, which means all the dioceses of the state. We also had support from a number of rabbis and from the Black Ministerial Association, from the Greek Orthodox, and a number of other churches, and the Family Institute of Massachusetts, and hospice care workers and nurses, doctors. The Catholic universities and colleges were very helpful, contacting their alumni, trying to educate them about the implications of this legislation. So it was a very broad-based effort, and that was a very big help.
And I think we always have to stay diligent too, because you really didn't know when people really didn't know this was going to take effect until a year or so before, and there it is. It's here. It's in front of us. So I think that's what's so important about being educated about what's going on.
Yes, many people had no idea it was even going to be on the ballot, and so part of our challenge was to let people know that the referendum was coming up, and then also to educate them about the implications of it.
Right. So they understand it.
Exactly.
You have to understand what you're voting for. And what was amazing to me was when they first started doing the polling, it was a landslide the other way. Not even close. Mm-hmm. But once people started to get educated about it, started to learn more about it, well, I think people were shocked mm-hmm. that it was voted down. But it was just people learning about what this is.
And it was a very interesting election because it was the largest turnout of voters in the history of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And despite that, we prevailed by 65,000 votes. And so we felt very good about that.
Talking about pro-life community, we lost one of our leaders when Nelly Great, the mother of the March of Life, passed away. What is the legacy of Nelly Great, and what did you know about her?
Well, of course, I was in Washington as a young priest working at the Spanish Catholic Center when the Supreme Court decision was handed down, and as I tell people, we were all sort of stunned and terribly disappointed and hurt that our country would legalize abortion. And at first, people were sort of paralyzed what to do, but Nelly Great stepped right up to the bat, and she was a lawyer working for the government in the Labor Department. She gave up her job. She dedicated herself entirely to the pro-life cause, organized the March for Life. I worked with her in those early days. I've been at every march from the first one, and I remember the two of us going around leafleting all of the congressmen's offices, and we would have many meetings and trying to help people to understand that we had a responsibility to do something about this. And the march, I think the first year there were about 20,000 people, but even
that's amazing.
That was amazing,
yeah.
And it was because of her hard work. But every year it has grown, and virtually many millions of people have participated in that march in the last 40 years. And one of the remarkable things is, at first I think we were practically all Catholics, you know, and now there's people from many different walks of life, many different religions, and many young people. Mm-hmm. If at that time people thought, well, those who oppose are going to get tired, or they'll die off, or they'll go away, well, the numbers have grown and they've gotten younger. So the issue is not going to go away. And what Nelly Great accomplished there was a tremendous service to the country. And now in other countries, they're beginning to imitate our pro-life march in Washington. But for our young Catholics, it has been an extraordinary experience. I call it the poor man's World Youth Day, because young people who go there feel so affirmed in their faith. To be with hundreds of thousands of young Catholics from all over the country, and to participate in the masses that are such beautiful celebrations, and then to be a part of the march, to be able to give witness to the Church's teachings on the dignity and the preciousness of human life. It really is a life-transforming experience for the young people that participate in the march, and I'm so grateful to all of those who help us here in Boston to mobilize the troops and make it possible for young people and their chaperones to go and to be a part of the pro-life march every year.
And what people have to realize, too, is that these young people are making a commitment because they have to pay to get down there, they have hotel, they have expenses, and it's cold. It is Washington in the winter.
Well, I always say that when it's snowing and sleeting and the weather's worse, the witness is greater. It's a sign to the world of the seriousness and the resolve of those of us who are opposed to abortion and will continue to work until the laws are changed.
What was Nelly Great? I didn't realize that you knew Nelly Great. What was she like?
She was a feisty Texan. She was part of that greatest generation, as you know. She was in the services during the Second World War. I think she studied at Georgetown Law, went to work for a labor department, as I say. But when she embarked on this path, it was her whole life. It was the vocation of a Catholic woman dedicated to the gospel of life. To me, she was just very, very inspirational. We had her here a couple years ago and gave her an award, recognized her in the Archdiocese, and she gave a wonderful talk here at that time. We were so pleased. I think it was at one of the women's conferences.
Was she surprised, you think? I had read that she was surprised that so many showed up at the first march. But do you think she was surprised by the end, how many people were showing up?
Oh, I don't think so.
Not Nelly?
You know, she was wonderful. She had such a spirit, and as I say, this was her whole life. She gave up her career. She gave up the possibilities of doing a million things, you know, as a talented young woman, to dedicate herself to saving the preborn children. She had this vision. I mean, this is not a statistic. This is not, you know, a glump of cells. These are preborn children. That was the phrase that she used all of the time, and her life was at their service.
Just an amazing woman. She will be missed. Now, you will be down in Washington. When you go down to Washington, what will you be doing? You have a bunch of things you'll be doing, I'm sure.
Well, we have, as you know, the same types of things as always. On the eve of the march, this year the march is a little later because of the presidential inauguration. In those years, I guess they moved the march back a couple of days. So it's going to be on the 24th, the Mass in the shrine, and then the following day we'll have a Mass for the Boston group at Sacred Heart Parish on 16th Street. But there are there's two big youth rallies on the 25th in the morning, and at noon there will be the kickoff, the beginning of the march, and that program. I'll be there to introduce the bishops, and we'll have a lot of Greek Orthodox, and other Orthodox churches represented. And then in the afternoon, after the initial program, there's the march to the Supreme Court.
Mm-hmm. What are some of the things you look forward to? Because you said you've done this every year. You've been there every single year. Is there anything that you just say, I really like this?
Well, the Mass in the shrine, to me, is always sort of the centerpiece of it all. And also just seeing the numbers of young people that are there, the number of seminarians. I think that is so impressive. Now there's a procession of priests and seminarians before the Mass. The procession lasts over half an hour. And I think that's a wonderful sign to the Catholics of the country.
Mm-hmm. And when they see this, when the young people see this, for anyone this happens, sometimes you can think you're alone in your cause.
Exactly.
Now here they come down to Washington, and it is growing, and there are so many young people, and there are people, as you said, of all different walks. Is it almost like evangelization in a way where now it's their role to go back into where they live and spread the word of pro-life?
Yes, I think it really is an opportunity for young people to have an awareness of their own mission and to be apostles for life. And the experience of being at the march and listening to the talks and the witness of, you know, thousands and thousands of their peers who are on board with their Catholic faith and with the gospel of life has a tremendous impact on the young people that participate.
The stories must be amazing that you hear down there.
Well, that's for sure.
It continues to grow, and you're saying now it's even spreading somewhat to Europe. What are some of the other things that people who are watching this now can do to help it grow in another way, help it grow through advocacy or through education, people at home?
Well, certainly here in the Archdiocese we have the Deacons for Life who will be organizing prayer vigils throughout the Archdiocese to mark the anniversary. But I think it's important for our Catholics to become more conversant with the whole pro-life issue. And one of the important activities of our church too is trying to minister to those who have had the misfortune of being involved in an abortion. And with the Project Rachel, Marianne Luthine and her office have done such a wonderful job promoting that. It's a healing ministry for women and men who have made that terrible step of aborting their child and then afterwards feeling that remorse and sense of loss. And it's a way to help them find peace and reconciliation and a path to come back from that terrible experience.
You know, there seems to be a common theme in today's program when we talked about physician-assisted suicide and we talk about abortion and we talk about not just the one person that it affects, but it affects all of us in the community, doesn't it?
Oh, it certainly does. And as you pointed out, physician-assisted suicide, it would involve doctors, it would involve pharmacists, and members of a person's family, you know, who perhaps some of the members would be against this just on moral principles. Thou shalt not kill, that this is murder. And others may have another idea, and you can see how divisive the whole issue is, and that's why an educational effort is so paramount.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Cardinal Sean, and for sharing this. We wish you the best of luck down in Washington. My hope for you is that it is sunny and 60. I don't think my hope's going to come true, but I hope it is for you.
Never know. Whatever, we'll be there.
You will be there with
Good.
so many other people too, and Catholic TV will be there with their coverage. So.
Wonderful.
Thank you for joining us today for a conversation with Cardinal Sean. We hope you've enjoyed the program. And the thing that I hope you take from this program is that if we can educate ourselves and we can be advocates, then we do each other a great service. Have a great day and continue to support Catholic TV.